is the 16th president of Nigeria, not Bakare. Well, dear Pastor Tunde Bakare, please make no mistake. Bola Tinubu, your brother and tribesman, is winning this election and will be the next president of Nigeria. God clearly wants him to be president of this country, and if you had cared to humble yourself before the Lord, you should have been able to decipher the ministry of this divine ordained destiny. Instead, it is truly astonishing that you of all people would stab your own brother in the back so shamefully and the most unhanded manner imaginable. Besides being a serial prophet of numberless false prophecies, it is truly heart-wrenching that you have now further descended into practicing what can only amount to witchcraft in broad daylight. Why in what is only interpretable as cowardice unbecoming of a man of God, you did not mention Tinubu by name. It was nevertheless quite clear that the All Progressives Congress APC presidential candidate was unmistakable target. According to you, in your unbelievably ill-natured address, Nigeria should be aware or should be aware of politicians politicians with a sense of entitlement who evade political debates and do not consider it imperative to communicate with the electorate. This is truly low, and I am most sorry to say utterly shameless coming from you, sir. Nobody that has ever run for president or any other office for that matter in the current republic, if not in our time history as a country, has communicated more with electorate and been more engaging with the masses than Bola Tinubu. How could you even insinuate that a man who made himself available for interview to the BBC is avoiding debates and public engagement? The only fora Tinubu has not appeared on Arise TV and his sister outfit, this day newspaper, and this is entirely because as the Presidential Campaign Council, we made a decision not to make our candidates available to disgracefully unprofessional media practitioners in cahoots with the opposition for the sole purpose of undermining our candidates. Left for Tinubu himself, he would go absolutely anywhere, anytime. Well, we are not making our candidates available to Arise or any other platform of questionable professional integrity, as has been clearly stated by Dele Alake, Bayo Ononuga, and Festus Kiyambo. You also claim in your rambling statement as follows: this a Milukan politics that insists on one's turn, even if circumstances do not align, is bad. What in the world is the meaning of that, Pastor? This a patience of some Yoruba people who should know better, making a mountain out of the molehill of an intrinsically contextual statement must stop. This is precisely what Olusegun Obasanjo, supposedly also a Yoruba man, also sought to do recently when he endorsed his fellow Anambran Peter Obi. It is also or totally disgraceful that you would also go rogue, turn back ship, and be hating on your brother by means of the deployment of putrid obfuscation and blatant falsehood. I am not a Yoruba, but I only truly became Tinubu supporters while watching him address a group of our party. Okay, your party, because it's your party, because and members in Abeokuta, where he made the remark. He was not addressing you, Pastor Bakare. He was not addressing your congregation either. He was not addressing the Yoruba nation for that matter. He was even addressing Abeokuta people, for God's sake. He wasn't even addressing Abeokuta people. He was merely addressing a small group of our party members, his own fellow party men and women, who just happen to be of Yoruba extraction. Given the location and occasion, it was therefore strictly and entirely an internal party affair. And you, claiming to be a member of the APC, should not be the one shamelessly pretending not to know that. Bola Tinubu was addressing our fellow APC members and was therefore speaking strictly within the context of the party, its history and its electoral trajectory thus far. He was trying to remind our party men and women about the contributions he had made to our success in 2015 and 2019 and asking us to reciprocate his efforts in the primary that would, at the time, be holding in a mere couple of days. The Ashwaju was only reminding our fellow party men and women in his native region and political base what under his sterling and sacrificial leadership we had achieved as a party. He was asking party members to stand with him to stave off an infernal betrayal and grotesque injustices being perpetrated against him at the time. Yeah, so the at him at that time, and you cannot claim not to be fully aware of this, or you would only be lying through your teeth, sir. As you, as you of all people should be fully aware, Tinubu was only reminding our party members that in reciprocity of his contributions to our collective triumph as a party, we should be honored enough not to stab him at the back, as you are currently doing. Bola Tinubu was speaking entirely within the context of intra-party affairs, barely days to our presidential primaries, and merely trying to rally people to his side as any contestant would. It is therefore to deploy a lie from a piece of hell itself for anyone to then twist this side remark out of its proper context and insinuate that Tinubu was claiming before Nigerians that it is his turn to rule. He never said that, meant not even as much as suggested anything of the sort. You are the one who, without appropriate office, required a requisite status or warranted occasion, decided to address Nigerians only to end up spewing forth despicable lies against your fellow man. Tinubu was not addressing Nigerians when he made that statement. He was talking to fellow politicians in the same party, and we heard him loud and clear and became his die-hard supporter thereon. I have wondered elsewhere what I would have done if I was in Tinubu's shoes on a similar occasion. What would I say to a bunch of my fellow party men and women who also just happen to be fellow tribes people back home in the Niger Delta, while addressing them in our native language regarding something I could easily learn in a totally democratic manner, which was, however, in danger of being denied me through abhorrently undemocratic subterfuge? Am I supposed to tell them that it is not our turn, and certainly not my turn either? Why did I gather them there to address them in the very first place? Just to the spirits, just to the spirits demoralize and dampen their enthusiasm, or what? What would you have done in similar circumstances, Pastor Bakare? Demoralizing your flock into capitulation? It is indeed truly embarrassing how supposed men of God as yourself have been on this man's neck. This is certainly not Christianity at all, and entirely inconsistent with the culture of Christ. Tinubu is a Muslim minority head of a Christian majority household. The man is a religious minority in his own house. If, as Christians, we discriminate against Tinubu simply because he's a Muslim, wouldn't we then also be discriminating against our own Christian sister Remi Tinubu and against our Christian brother Sheyi Tinubu and his other Christian siblings? How do you discriminate against their husband and father without also discriminating against them? And the only crime Bola Tinubu would have committed against us is that he allowed our fellow Christians to practice their faith under his roof. See, blackmailing. Oh, are you people even thinking at all? If Tinubu can let our fellow Christians practice their religion right in his own abode, is he then the one we should pick and ask to with grind with for being true to his own religion? Now one for these people. Tinubu, who has been abusing everybody up and down. You think all these statements is going to move anybody? If as Christians we can't even get along with a guy like Tinubu, what sorts of Muslim could we then possibly flow with? Or are you asking us to discriminate against Kashim Shettima? We should discriminate against him for building churches. How many churches have you built besides the ones you preside over and collect tithes and offering from? Have you ever built a mosque or contributed to the building of one? And you dare exhort the faithful to discriminate against a Muslim who builds a Christian brothers and sisters numerous churches in the north? How do you people even understand Christianity? Okay. My dear pastor, I implore you to stop dwelling on the disappointment of having not won a ticket you couldn't possibly have won under any realistic expectation. I'm sorry to put it this bluntly, but your primary run was a complete joke for the fact of from the start, and none of us in the party ever took you seriously. As we will say over here in Delta, who you help. I was truly dumbfounded when you coughed out 100 million naira to buy a form to be our candidate. I wonder at the time who has this one help in this party that he expects us to make him our flag bearer. That is just politics for you, sir. You could not even get a single vote, therefore lost miserably. That is life, my brother. You move on and wait for God's direction in your life. It is truly disgraceful that instead of waiting for God, you have dissolved into inconsolable bitterness to the extent of brazenly stabbing your fellow tribesman in the back. Tinubu's only crime is that he remembered to put oil in his lamp, did his homework well, and most manifestly paid his dues. All of this you woefully failed to do while making empty noise as usual and apparently placing reliance on what was all along clearly a misinterpretation of the will of God. Well, Tinubu defeated you, and that is that. Hating on him, trying to tarnish his reputation and deliberately misconstruing his statements is not how to wait for God, and most certainly not how to be a Christian. Dear Pastor Bakare, you will not be president of this country. And for your information, the rulership of this country come May 29 this very year has already been granted and irreversibly given unto your own brother Bola Tinubu from above. There is nothing wrong with that. It is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in the sight of the righteous. Tinubu is the next president of Nigeria by the special grace of God Almighty. It is Bola Tinubu, not Tunde Bakare. That is the 16th president of Nigeria. You clearly read the vision wrong, my brother. He will be your president as much as mine, indeed, whether you like it or not. It is the will of God to take it in good faith and move on. If indeed you are a true child of God, know this and know peace. Indeed, I come in peace, and peace be with you and yours. Onopasa, a lawyer and member of All Progressives Congress APC Presidential Campaign Council, right from Warri. Okay? Now, I don't hear we say this Warri man don't talk. You write this nonsense because of the money you have collected. Well, I don't even blame you. One thing that is sure is that you and those using demonic power will be disappointed. In a normal and sane country, people like Tinubu and Atiku will never or can never come out and walk in the streets talkless of contesting to be a president, but because Nigerians were gullible and with hunger striking breath, people like these two well-known thieves can resurface. You tell that your faithless family and generations or more. When I hear people say that Tinubu, aka Barnabas, has been ordained by God to rule Nigeria, I begin to wonder if that was to be in any way true, which is not. Then Nigeria must have offended God so badly that he wants us to completely be consumed. So guys, now so we hear on this worry man. What's your own take? Let us know in the comment section.